Okay, everybody. All right, welcome on this 11th of October. Okay, hope everybody's doing well. Okay, you can say hi to me before I mute you all. How's everybody doing today?
Doing awesome.
Okay. Okay, it's the silent group today. All right, good. All right, hold on one second here. Let's see. All right, Rob, if you could just hit *6 and then I'll introduce you just so I can know we can hear you. Hit *6 on your phone.
I think I'm here now, Rick.
Here you are. Okay. Yep. Are you okay? You sound good too. Let's get right into it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are very fortunate today to have with us today author of an incredible book, which we're going to get into a little today, called Courage in the Fire. Also, our brand new manager for the Gilbert office. All right, Mr. Rob Terrell. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How you doing today, my man?
Great to be here. I'm doing really well. Thanks, Rick.
All right, good. Well, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, like how long you've been in real estate and all that good stuff, please.
Okay, terrific. Yeah, I actually started real estate right after the accident, the airplane crash, just because I knew I wasn't going to be able to keep doing the business I was doing, at least at the pace I was doing it. And so I had done some real estate investing, and I thought, well, that's where I want to be. So in 2001, I got my license, and I started actually working for a preceding company to the Berkshire Hathaway, Arizona organization. It was called New Home Information Center, and worked there several years, then left that, started my own real estate company, partnered with a developer. We built several subdivisions. We built down in the southern part of Arizona, built a residential subdivision there and here in Mesa. And that took us into when real estate took a dive, and we went through all those challenges. And then shortly after that, my brother-in-law owned a medical professional veterinary specialty group, and he asked me, hey, while you're slower in real estate, would you put my marketing program together? And so we built a marketing program that marketed clinics across 21 different states, or 21 different clinics in 10 different states. And we were able to quadruple the size of that organization over 9 years. And then from there, I said, I'm going to go find the best real estate company in the state. And my research led me to Berkshire Hathaway. And I hung my license and went full-time about 2.5 years ago. And that brings me to here, brings me to today.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that brief history. Really appreciate that. And that's pretty incredible. The thing is that, and I remember when you came because you started coming to my training right away, which was nice, seeing you there right. And, getting involved and listening to your story and so forth. So you mentioned the plane crash and so forth. So one of the reasons I wanted you, first off, you're the new manager, and I definitely wanted to interview you, Rob, but also I wanted them to hear. And we all have our own challenges and so forth, as we were talking about, I think it was on Friday. But give them a little idea of what you've been through in the last few years or back when it happened and so forth, just to give an idea of what's possible when you're going through challenges in life. Because I know I've been through mine, but this is a little different. So tell them a little about it, if you could, please.
Okay, terrific. I was actually up in the northeastern part of the state where my parents lived, and my dad was a pilot, had an airplane, and I had to get to kind of a unique place, a little town called Morenci. It's a mining town on the eastern border of Arizona. And I just, I was going to drive there, and it was going to be 4 hours because there's no easy way to get there. My dad said, no worries, we'll just fly. And I said, great. So we took off from Sholo that November night. It was a dark night, no moon, and we went over the mountain to Morenci. It's only about a 30-minute flight, and we couldn't get the lights on at the airport in Morenci. I had probably 50, 60 people waiting for me at a meeting location where I was going to be presenting some business ideas and concepts, and we couldn't get the lights on. We circled the airport 6 times. Dad said, I got it. And so I had total confidence in my dad. And so we went into land. We were 130 feet lower than what our altimeter read. And we literally just got too low. We were landing into a ravine. When Dad figured it out, he put the power in the airplane. It's a Baron, a twin, small twin, very responsive. So we took back off We were doing fine, except as we went out over the ridge of the ravine, we caught a power pole in from the tip of the left wing about 6 feet. Probably hit it at 130 miles an hour. So it tore the wing off the airplane. We literally frisbeed out into the desert in a ball of fire. And once we stopped, fortunately we stopped upright. I was on the right side of the airplane, and if you are familiar with that airplane, you get out on the right side. So I opened the door. I don't really remember much of it, but I just know based on my burns and what happened that I got out first. I grabbed my dad and pulled him out of the airplane, and we walked off the wing through the fire together. I was burned over 40%, third and fourth degree. My dad was burned about 20%. And so we walked off the airplane, and of course, immediately I decided I needed to go for help. And so I turned myself in the direction of what I thought the airport was and started walking. And so, yeah, that kind of gives you that history. And then obviously you got the long recovery coming up after that. And I was in a coma for 4 weeks at the Arizona Burn Center. It was a drug-induced coma. My dad passed away about 4 hours after the accident. At his age, with those kinds of burns and injuries, the survival rate drops dramatically. And so we lost him in flight, actually, to Tucson Medical Center, which was the closest Trauma 1 center. And so, yeah, I was in the burn center for 4 weeks. In a coma. I was in the burn center about a month after that. And then since that time, I've had 30 surgeries. I burned my right ear completely off. Most of the hair on the right side of my head was gone, burned off, and burned my hands really badly, and my back, my legs. And so I just, I started into the recovery process.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the first step is accepting where you are and accepting the long haul you're going to have to go through. And it's easy for me to say that, but I'm sure back there, Rob, that was a tough pill to swallow, wasn't it?
Well, it was. And when I came out of the coma, Rick, I remember, they sent my father-in-law got the duty because they were told it was very strict who came in my room. It was very strict on what they were allowed to do. All of them had to scrub like they were walking into surgery because the vulnerability of a burn victim. Their immune system has been totally compromised. Their skin's their first line of defense, and I was missing 40% of it. As they started doing surgeries, they would take skin from other places. So, it's easy to say I was 60 to 70% compromised with my skin and that barrier. So they told him, no one tells Rob that his dad's passed, And my father-in-law got the duty once I was out of the coma. He came in and he asked me, hey, do you know what's going on? And I said, yeah. He said, do you know where you're at? And I said, yeah, I think I do. I'm at the burn center. And he said, yeah. And he said, do you know what happened? Yeah. I said, do you know what happened to your dad? And I said, yeah, my dad went home to be with the Lord. And
wow. So you already knew at that point because of everything that had happened.
I think just my faith. I think the Lord dealt with me through that, and so I do believe that I was completely aware of it. And be honest with you, with where I was at, and knowing my dad's age, and I was relieved that he had passed, just because of what I knew the recovery and the process was going to be.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. That's totally crazy, my man. But look at, and the thing of it is that all the accomplishments that you've mentioned are all things you've done since the accident, correct? Or most of them, anyway.
Yeah, that is correct. Most of them are since the accident.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. So it makes it sound, like. And I don't know, I'm sure you went through all kinds of phases, but I'm sure there was a point where you said you just turned it. Because you look great. I'm just going to tell you, man. You look great. You're in great shape. You're a very positive, inspirational person. Your book's incredible. What a great story. And unfortunately, you had to go through it, but I'm sure you feel like you've come out of it stronger, tougher. What a whole different attitude, right?
You know what? I do. And I think that the thing that you need to understand, and you and I talked about this Friday, is that so many times, people look at their circumstances, and it's really easy. Our society teaches us to be a victim. And so that's the first thing. It's really easy. And I could have easily said, and I even do it to this day. I laugh sometimes at myself, Rick, because I go into the spa, and I'm working out and I'm sweating and I'm lifting, and then I look over and there's a girl about 130 pounds and she's lifting more weight than me, and I look at that, and you know how that is, right? And you look at that, and
I do.
The first thought in my head is, yeah, well, she was never burned. So,
right.
She can lift more than me. She was never burned. And what is that? That's the first thing we go to, is the victim mentality.
Yeah.
And so I try to catch myself now, and I look at that, and I even speak out and say, hey, way to go. Good job. I need to celebrate her success rather than get hung up in where I don't feel like I measure up. And I think that's the first thing we need to learn in success, or anything we're going to do, is we cannot buy into the victim mentality. You can't be a champion and a victim at the same time. You just can't. So you got to forfeit the victim mentality.
Yeah, and then you got to cash it in. You got to say to yourself, look, because you're right, especially if you're watching the news, and most of them, and it's just, you got to look at where you are. The past is the past, and you got to look at where you are and say, okay, I firmly believe we live in the best country in the world by far, and you have tremendous opportunities. And yes, it's not perfect, and there's things going on, and there's things that need to be better. But ultimately, anybody in this country can get what they want out of it if they just cash in. Okay, and I love what you just said too. Cash in the victim mentality. Okay, to become a champion, and a champion is by definition. It doesn't have to be Muhammad Ali or Tom Brady. It could be just somebody, making $150,000 a year in real estate. That's a pretty good damn thing that you could do. And okay, it's totally available to everybody that's listening and everybody that has a real estate license. And yesterday I had the same type of thing. I was at, where was I? I was at the gym in the morning. Okay, and I'm sorry. I was at the golf course, and I was cashing in, and this poor person playing golf, and I'm thinking poor person, but probably to them it was incredible. They were extremely handicapped, but as I walked by this person, I thought, let's put it this way, I didn't say hi to anybody with the same energy and enthusiasm as this person. And I say poor because I say it looked like obviously something was handicapped, some kind of handicap with this person. I don't know exactly what it was, but to him, he was having a great day and enjoying himself incredibly. So, I guess it depends on where you come from, who you are, and where you're going, right?
Absolutely. You know what? There's a couple things we can choose. We can either choose to be that victim and get bitter in life, or we can choose to get better. And that's just a step-by-step process. We get better, and you're better today than you were yesterday. And because of that, you're going to succeed. And you don't have to be the top number one producer. You don't have to, but success is really what your goals are. What are your dreams? What are the things that you want to achieve? And sometimes those are tempered a little bit by life. That's just a fact. But it doesn't matter. You can still be better.
Life gets in the way. You're right. And the old saying is, you set a plan and then you realize there is a God, but but it's true. Sometimes you head in one direction and you have to veer off in a different direction, and you just keep moving forward. But I would say ultimately, and I agree with you, the only competition is the person in the mirror, and are you getting better every single day? And I'm going to tell you something, and I know you know this. Whether you make progress one day or not is irrelevant. Whether you make effort every day is something everybody can do. And even when you make effort and you don't make advancement, you still feel incredibly good about your day because you put in what you could that day, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. It's every day is a little bit of effort. And, there's so many just simple things that we can subscribe to every day. Like I think about my circumstance. I'm in the burn center. I'm not sure whether or not my hands are ever going to work again. And I just remember laying there one day thinking, you know, we got to learn how to laugh again. Because there wasn't a lot of laughter going on in my family and around all this. They just buried my dad. I was, you know, still whether or not there was still question whether or not I was going to be functional. And so one day I'm just laying, of course I couldn't sleep in the burn center because all the different things that were going on. I just usually laid in bed awake, but I just thought, you know, we got to learn to laugh again. I remember my wife would come in every day to see me, and I thought, you know, what can I do to laugh? What can I do to get her to laugh? What can I do to laugh myself? And so I thought about that. She walked through the door into the burn center, and this is probably 6 weeks after the accident. And I said, honey, this is a great deal. She said, what are you talking about? What's a great deal? And I said, this whole deal we're in, it's a great deal. She said, well, why is it a great deal? I said, well, just think about it. I said, we'll just tell the plastic surgeon what you always wanted in a husband, and you can get whatever you wanted. You know?
There you go.
And I remember we laughed a little bit, you know, and
right.
I think that success and I think that courage is built when you learn how to laugh. And I would tell everyone, start with yourself. Learn how to laugh at yourself and our own crazy, silly antics. You know, just learn to laugh. There's great healing in laughter, but there's also great success and courage in laughter and learning how to laugh at ourselves.
I love it. It's so true because that sense of humor is absolutely critical in today's world. You got to be able to laugh. You know, you take yourself, you take your job seriously, you take your family seriously, but you don't take yourself so seriously because we all, you know, I firmly believe, okay, and I don't know about you. See, I went through a struggle in my life, alcohol and quitting, and it's been, 13 and a half years for me, and nothing compared to what you've been through. But it gives me a different perspective, meaning that I've been some places that I didn't want to be and been through some things medically that I didn't want to go through that I had to in order to smarten up and start getting more healthy. A lot of people may not realize that, but if you read my book, it's in there. And I talk about that because it's important for me to remember that because it gives me a whole different perspective. When I'm on a plane, I'll give you an example. I'm on a plane, okay, and we're flying from Los Angeles to New York, and we haven't even taken off yet, and the plane's 10 minutes late from taking off, and the person next to me is already complaining that they're going to be late. I'm like, you're flying in an airplane 5.5 hours across the country. If you take a nap, you wake up in 3 different time zones later through a steel tube with wings, right? And 5.5 later, you're 2,500 miles away and you're complaining about that. It's just, to me, what we look at when you look at the big perspective and everything that you have going on, it's incredible what some people focus on. And I think when you've been through something like you've been through and so forth, I think you just look at life a little differently and you can appreciate the small things and you understand, what's important in life, right?
Right. No, that's exactly right. Sometimes, to me, every day is a blessing. And so it's like I look at stuff now and I think, okay, there's a little bit of adversity, there's challenge. I know in that there's great courage. I know that. Right. And the other thing I recommend for everybody, and of course we teach it, you teach it, you're probably one of the best at it, Rick, and that is that you need to have a mentor in your life, somebody that holds you accountable, and not just for, your business goals and your daily activities, but also for life, And I'm encouraging people all the time, find a mentor, someone that knows you well enough that they'll hold you accountable. And buy into that. And I think there's great courage in that because the minute you make yourself vulnerable, the minute you say, okay, here's who I am, we're all human beings. We're all just living here the best we can. And when you make yourself vulnerable and you lay it all out there and someone else can guide you and direct you, but also can encourage you and to believe in you, that's the key. That's the key is having that. And that's what I love about our company, about our model, is that there's always that person there that is a little further ahead that will guide you, that will direct you, will give you some encouragement. To me, that's the most valuable thing you have in life, is the people around you who encouraging you, they want your success and will invest in you. And that's amazing when you think about it.
Absolutely, 100% agree. Okay, so let's give them some things to think about here. They can be real estate associated, or they can just be positive mental attitude, or even your faith. And so I'm somebody that really wants to start looking at life differently and maximize my existence. Okay, I always say maximize my existence because that could mean, it could mean number of things to a number of people. It could be my business, it could be my health, it could be my spirituality, it could be my my mindset. It could be a lot of those things. So Rob, what would be the 3 most important things you tell them to focus on if they really wanted to check up from the neck up, as Zig Ziglar would say?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I mean, to me, I'm a faith guy. I think that's a critical element to understand. Yeah. So to me, that's one of the things. Where's your faith? That's the first question I'd ask you. Where's your faith? What are you doing in that area? What are you buying into? The next thing I would say is your attitude. What is your attitude? Do you have the attitude of gratitude? It's one thing to be thankful. Someone does something for us, or they help us in a way, and we say, hey, thanks. Thanks is gratitude is different than thanks. Okay. Gratitude is an in-depth, thankful spirit. Thankful for having just the things that we have, the blessings that we have. So I think learning how to be grateful and having that grateful attitude, I think is really, really important. And the next thing is to understand, I think most important is to understand why we do what we do. Because, I know you teach prospecting. And honestly, I've gone through it myself when I was in your classes and that. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is killing me, But we teach prospecting. But the key to that is, it's like, why are we doing it? What we're real estate is about relationships. And so what are we doing when we're prospecting? We're looking for people who need a friend in real estate. We're looking for people who need some guidance, someone who care enough about them that will invest in them to help them through a real estate need. That's what we're looking for. And so when you're prospecting, you're not looking for the next deal or the next commission. You're looking for the next friend that you can build a relationship with, that you can become friends with, that, oh, by the way, they need some real estate help. And so why are we doing what we do? And as long as we keep that in the proper perspective, then our pipelines will be full, our relationships will be rich, and we'll just keep, we'll keep on keeping on. Life will be fun if we keep that proper perspective.
I agree 100%. I love it. Faith, gratitude, and understand your why and why you're doing it. It's so true. And, just to, I agree 100%. I'm gonna share a little secret here. One of my affirmations to remind, because when I find myself getting less patient, a little irritable, I know, hard to believe, but it happens. That's when I get into this affirmation. I am gratitude. I don't know if that's a little egotistical, but I say I am gratitude because I have to remind myself, and this is what I do. I go through the fact that I live in the best country in the world. When I'm driving down the street, look at these incredible roads that we have. Look at this life that we have. And I just start going through my kids, my spouse, just go through everything that you have from a gratitude standpoint is incredible. And I think it's a very, very good lesson for us to remind myself. It's part of my meditation every day too, right? So the nuts and bolts that we're talking about. Yes, of course you want to prospect, talk to people, decide how much money you want to make, and you want to do all that. But you have to have some underlining things like gratitude. I think faith's good. You can call it spirituality. Either one works for me. And understand your why, and I would say revisit it often, right?
I agree, absolutely. If you don't know the why you're doing what you're doing, it gets mundane and it gets troublesome really, really quick. And there's a book out there called Know Your Why, or The Reason Why, and it's a great, great book to read. And talking about relationships, one of the things I learned early on in my life, and that was that it's easy to forget the blessing when you're in the heat of the battle. And so what I would do, and key relationships in my life, and that included, of course, my wife, all of my children, special people in my life, even business mentors or business people that I worked with. And I would as an exercise, every now and then I would sit down and I'd write out what their strengths were. What do they bring to the table? Why are they so special to me? And then I can review back to those notes and I can look back at them. And to me, it was an exercise that helped me to keep my proper mental focus as to where I was going and what I was doing. And particularly when you get in the grind, you know, we go through a grind. In real estate, we go through a grind. We always get into the grind of life. It's so important to keep perspective, keep the proper perspective and make sure. And that's what helped me do it. So I would do those things.
Right.
In fact, I'll tell you a funny story. I read The Compound Effect, and I got the idea. In fact, I read that book, and I said, you know what? I need to read this book 12 times this year, once a month. And I did get through 8.
Isn't that a great
I didn't
book?
make my 12. It's a great book. But anyway, I sat down one day, and I said, I'm going to write out what is so valuable and so important to me about my wife, because and I had the wrong attitude about it, but I said, because this is going to be a great gift for her. And so I did. I disciplined myself to write down the great positive. And there were days, when I thought, I'm going to spend a while trying to figure this one out because I'm not happy with her right now. And I went through that whole process, and I did it for about 8 months. And her birthday was coming up, and I journaled it. So I wrapped it up, and I gave it to her as a gift. And what I didn't understand, or what I didn't learn, was that was not a gift to her. That was a gift to me.
Right.
And what I realized when it was all said and done was the gift was to me. That was my gift. And it changed my whole perspective about my wife and about how valuable she is and important. And I think that's what we need to learn to do in everything that we're doing. Even our reason why is that we continue to focus on it, so that in the grind, it always is the first thing back on our mind. That's the reason why. I tell people, if you know the reason why for somebody, you can get them to do anything.
Yep. If you know your why, the how becomes, I call it palatable, meaning that you can put up with it. And that, you know what, honestly, that's what working out became for me. That's what prospecting became for me. Is I look at it as a complete gift. And you're right. Every time you get into the grind or you feel the squeeze, you have to be grateful for that, because that's how diamonds are formed. You don't get in shape without tearing muscle and having it grow. So we forget that the grind is critical, okay, for us. Like Matthew Ferry gives this great example of, it's in his book too, Quiet Mind, Epic Life. Everybody should read that book. Everybody should read your book too. But he talks about the butterfly. The cocoon. If you slice open the cocoon and pull the butterfly out, it dies. If it doesn't squeeze through and go through the struggle to become a butterfly, it dies. So it drains its wings of the fluid and blah, blah, blah. It does all that stuff by going through that struggle. And that's what we have to go through in order to, and then you appreciate things so much more. That's why some crazy statistic that almost 90% of people that win the lottery go bankrupt within 5 years, because
that's right.
They didn't earn it. They don't treat it the same. Well, unfortunately, my man, we got to come to an end here. And but I really appreciate you taking your time out today, my man. This was incredibly awesome, way different than any other podcast I have done. So this has been really, really awesome, my man. Thank you very much for taking your time out today.
Absolutely. Thank you. And hey, my message is live a life of courage. You know what?
I love it.
You're going to do it. You're going to do it no matter what. So why not live a life of courage? You're going to pay the price.
Live a life of courage. Courage in the Fire is the name of the book.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely pick it up. Sorry, Rob, I cut you off there. Go ahead.
Oh, no worries, Rick. No, pick up the book. I'd love for you to have it and read it and then give some feedback, but also share it.
Yes. And just like me, he has it on, Amazon for basically free. I think it's like $13, $12.95. I put it on basically the lowest price they'll let you. It looks like you did too. That way everybody can own it. Guys, take a look. Own it. It's incredibly awesome. I'd recommend it for everybody. Thanks, Rob, for taking your time out. Everybody, we'll do this again in a week. Thanks, Rob. Really appreciate it, my man.
Rick.
Great stuff.
Have a great week. Thanks.
You too.